Brian Shaw's wrist and forearm have grown significantly since the last year, and Ermes Gasparini was shocked to see that.
Massive difference.
Big. Yeah. So now wrist is coming.
When he came here to Dutching?
I'll have to look. I don't remember exactly. Probably a year.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah?
I never saw something like this. In 1 year, 2 centimeters grow.
Months.
Unbelievable.
To grow.
Wrist, in 1 year, you started to train like crazy.
Yeah.
2 centimeters.
Yes.
In 1 year. Unbelievable.
It's good.
Yeah, it's something, the science is, they can't believe.
So these are the measurements that they took in the recent Brian Shaw video. Brian's weight is 178 kilos. I know he's 6'7", but even for a guy who's that tall, being around 16% body fat and weighing that much is unheard of. I don't think there is any other human on this planet who weighs more than Brian Shaw with less body fat percentage than him. Maybe there is some 7'8" giant, but surely no one below 7 feet tall. Now let's talk about his right arm measurements. Brian's forearm is 19.6 inches without a pump. When Todd Hutchings visited Brian about 11 months ago, at that time Brian's forearm was 18 inches. How is that even possible? A 1.6 inch growth in less than. His bicep now is 22.8 inches. Once again, without a pump. The wrist is 9.6 inches. That is the most shocking part, because before this, it was only 8.75 inches. And once again, this is not pumped. And yes, it is possible to pump your wrist as well. Anyone who has held a heavy weight in his hand for a long time, they know that the wrist gets pumped. And this increase in size is going to be a problem for everyone who faces Brian Shaw in the future. Because not only is he getting bigger in the areas that matter, but he's strengthening those joints. He's conditioning those joints for arm wrestling specifically. Recently, we have seen that Devon's hand size also increased. In his recent live stream, he said that Auden has a way to measure the volume of his hand, and the volume increased 11% since his last training cycle. I'm not sure what he means by last training cycle, whether it was for the Levan Saginashvili match, but let's say in a year, his hand volume has increased by 11%. I'm assuming he was talking about the water displacement method, something like that. Results in these kind of tests can vary depending on whether you are slightly tilting your hand or not, whether a little bit more of your hand is submerged in the water or not. But still, the variation cannot be 11%. It can be at max maybe 3-4%.
But most importantly, I believe my hand's bigger. Most importantly, Auden's got this hand volume checking thing. I believe I've grown 11% over this last training cycle. 11%, super significant.
So what is happening with these guys? How are they increasing their bone density, their bone thickness at 40 plus years of age? There was a time when Devon's hand used to fit in the protein tub. It doesn't anymore since the last couple of years. Whenever there is a conversation about the increase in hand and wrist size, finger size, thickness of the fingers, Wolff's law is what always comes to my mind. This is what it says. Bone is deposited in areas of high stress and removed in areas of low stress. When loads increase, bone remodeling deposits new bone, increasing structural rigidity and strength. So it's not permanent. If you stop doing that, if you stop overusing your joints, you may see a decrease in size. This is called atrophy. When loading decreases, bone density decreases, leading to weaker, thinner bone. But if you're natural, you're not going to see these crazy gains. Ermes also talked about getting a couple of centimeters or maybe even more increase in his wrist size, but that happened over a span of 5 to 6 years, and he has gained significant amount of weight too since then. Brian Shaw at this size must be on some dose of human growth hormone, and the same can be said for Devon Larratt too. Although my knowledgeable guess is that up until 2020, Devon never used any growth hormone at all. And the recent results that he's been getting, especially after meeting Brian Shaw, how easily he's getting massive and keeping that weight, maintaining that weight, he must be on a moderate dose of growth hormone. Ryan Bowen also grew his wrist by 3 to 4 centimeters. That is insane. And he also self-admittedly was using human growth hormone at that time. So my verdict on this, it's kind of a semi-educated guess, you may call it, is that if you're natural and you're training for bodybuilding, just lifting weights in the gym, nothing arm wrestling specific, you are not going to see any increase in your wrist size or your fingers thickness. If you're juiced up and you're doing bodybuilding training, you still may not see any significant increase in your wrist and hand size. But if you're juiced up and doing some arm wrestling training, arm wrestling specific lifts and actually arm wrestling on the table, and you still don't see a growth in your wrist size, then there is something wrong with you. I mean, wrist size can increase naturally too. There is a reason why I and you also have never seen a mechanic that has skinny fingers and a skinny hand. It simply doesn't happen. So clearly hand and wrist size can grow naturally too, but not as much as these guys. Devon also has increased his wrist by an inch or two, I guess. In fact, I've done a detailed video on this subject with Ryan Bowen and RVJ. Please check that out from the iCard above or the link in the description. Thanks for watching and mention your thoughts in the comment section.